Welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame with your hosts, Pierre Camus and Chris Moncano.
What is up, guys? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame running back waiver wire options for Week 5. If you've checked out our content before, you know that our endgame, the bottom line, is we're going to help you win. We're not going to waste your time. We're going to get right to it and tell you what to do to help you get an edge over the competition. And that starts, of course, on the waiver wire each and every week. If you're our returning viewer, somebody who's already hit that subscribe button, thanks, and we look forward to hearing from you. Again, shoot us a comment at Endgame Fantasy on Twitter. You can hit me up at Roto_Chef on Twitter. Of course, leave a comment here in the YouTube channel. We'd love to hear from you, answer your questions to help you. All right. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit subscribe right now. Give us a thumbs up if you like what you see. And then let's get to it. We're here to talk running backs. And I feel like we say this every week, but you're really going to need some help because more star players have gone down, unfortunately. And we're getting word now right after the Sunday games that Nick Chubb might be going on IR. So it's an MCL sprain. Thankfully, not worse. It could have been an ACL. So he's not out for this season, at least at this point, but he's going to miss some time. All right. The other big name, of course, is Austin Ekeler, who was carted off early to the locker room, didn't return, and they were kind of hoping for the best, expecting the worst. And so likewise with him, it's a hamstring injury. So obviously not a knee issue. That's better. But it was pretty severe. And it sounds like he's going to miss multiple weeks also. Not surprisingly, that leads us to our top waiver wire options. So here's our top 5 running back. And it starts with Dearness Johnson, a name that you really didn't think would pop up as fantasy relevant this year. But here he goes. He's got to be your top claim, and I'll tell you why. Because first of all, there is no replacing Nick Chubb, right? Obviously, nobody has that explosive ability. But this Browns team is committed to running the ball. We know that that is a fact because they're running the ball with both Chubb and Hunt, and they're doing pretty efficiently too. That's the thing, is this isn't just we're pounding the ball for the sake of pounding the ball. The Browns now, believe it or not, I mean, they beat the Cowboys. They're winning games. All right, that by itself is amazing enough. But the Browns are winning because they're kind of easing the load off of Baker Mayfield, which is smart because he's still turnover prone. Doesn't look like he may live up to the billing of what we thought being the number 1 pick. But they're trying to keep the ball maybe out of his hands a little bit more. And so the running game is first. And even with Chubb out, we saw Dearness Johnson take 13 carries, right? 95 yards in those 13 carries. Now, they were able to run, kind of keep the run established because they were up, right? And they were up actually pretty big, until the 4th quarter over Dallas. But it doesn't matter. This team wants to keep the ball on the ground and kind of limit, not have to be a high volume passing attack. Is Johnson going to be that effective every week? Probably not. Is he going to be as effective as Chubb? Of course not. But still, if you're a Chubb owner, what choice do you have? Where else are you going to scoop up off of waivers? He's got to be your top choice. Obviously, this helps Kareem Hunt the most. You're not getting Kareem Hunt from any fantasy manager at this point. So I would say make Johnson your priority. Even if you're not somebody who's going to be out without Chubb, you grab him if you can, just to prevent the other guy from getting him. All right, so Endgame Johnson has to be your top priority here. Number 2, I'm not going with Justin Jackson. He's going to be my number 3 pick because, well, I'll tell you why in a second. But number 2 right now, I'm going to go with Chase Edmonds, and it's not because of an injury. All right, so Kenyon Drake did leave in the 4th quarter of the game with what they call a chest injury. We're finding out now he just got the wind knocked out of him. Why didn't he come back? Well, Kenyon Drake is doing what Chris and I both said that Kenyon Drake would do, and that's bust. All right, and bust badly. He was not worth a 1st-round pick. He was not worth a 2nd-round pick, which is mainly where he went this season. Even in this Arizona offense that everybody thought would be amazing, they've been solid. They haven't been as amazing as everybody expected. DeAndre Hopkins has been amazing. Kyler Murray has had some issues. He's turning the ball over quite a bit, and nobody else is really getting theirs. But the thing is, the run game, yeah, he's getting the ball. It's not like they've abandoned the run and just become air raid and that's it. But he's not doing anything with it. Okay, so Drake right now averaging 3.8 yards per carry. He's getting the ball. He's just not doing anything with it. So it's not a matter of opportunity. We always say, if he ever becomes the lead back for a year, he is. All right, 16 times in the first game, 60 yards. All right, that was the DeAndre Hopkins special, right, where he got targeted a million times. And he did score a touchdown, so it looked pretty good. 20 carries for 86 yards next game. That's not bad. But again, there's not a whole lot else with it because he's not catching the ball. That's the problem. 2 targets, 1 target, 0 targets. He's not a part of this passing game. So if he's getting it just through the run game, 86 yards without a touchdown, that's not RB1 status. Okay, I think you know that. 18 carries for 73 yards next week. Not too great. 13 carries, 35 yards. He's getting worse as the season goes on, not better, and he's relying on just rushing volume alone. It's not cutting it as even an RB2. So with Drake being less effective, Chase Edmonds becomes interesting. I think he's going to see the ball a little bit more. He's been more efficient, not great, mind you, but he's been a little bit more efficient running the ball when he gets the touches. He's the one who's getting targeted a ton. Right now he has 17 targets on the season, 13 catches. So at least he brings somewhat of a floor. If this becomes sort of a timeshare, Chase Edmonds is a guy who's going to have some value. So I'm not saying they're going to bench Drake. I'm not saying that Edmonds is taking over his job, but I do have interest in him, especially because you're trying to replace Ekeler or whoever you're missing at running back. Number 3, then I'll go with Justin Jackson because, well, I mean, they have no choice at this point, right? He's been battling a quad injury since the preseason, so he has been limited. But when he's played this year, hasn't done much with the ball. So right now, 8 times for 13 yards. That's what he's done, carrying the ball. Not too good. Don't read too much into that. That's limited action, very limited. Obviously, like I say, it might not be 100%. He's going to have to be a full go this week. Otherwise, Chargers are going to have to go out and try to sign a running back, which obviously there's not much left for them to do. But Jackson is a guy who's interesting because he does have 5.1 yards per carry average for his career. But here's my hesitation with him, right? If the other 2 guys are gone that I already mentioned and you're an Ekeler owner and you have nobody else to go to, sure, you go with Jackson. But the thing is, Kelly clearly passed him, right? Joshua Kelly is and is going to be the lead back unless something happens, right? Maybe Justin Jackson will bust out an amazing game. Maybe Kelly gets hurt. Who knows? But Kelly is their guy right now. So I just don't see enough volume, especially in this offense where they're just going to let Herbert win the game. Try to win the game. All right. This has changed. This offense has totally changed from what we thought it was and what it was in week 1. And so I just don't know that there's enough value in this backfield for more than one running back. And right now, Kelly's the running back. So Jackson, even if we're getting our 3rd choice, he's kind of more of a desperation pick, but we are in desperate times. So I understand if you want to spend a little bit of fab on him, just don't expect too much. All right. And then number 4, I'll go with Damien Harris. Not much to say here. He hasn't played. He's been on IR. He's back. The other thing is he's a Patriots running back. So this is getting to basically stash territory. You grab him, you stash him, you don't play him. I don't expect much. It's not initially, at least. Now, Sonny Michel not playing tonight for Monday Night Football, maybe that opens the door for him. But if James White is back, then he probably won't get used very much. So the bottom line here, the end game for Damien Harris is expect nothing, right? If you're in a deep league, you can stash him and hope is kind of like a midseason lottery ticket, but don't expect much. And then the last pick I have for running back, and again, you might think, okay, well, how does this guy even have value? But Anthony McFarland Jr., another kind of scratch off play here. We were all over Benny Snell after week 1. We were wrong. He looked good. You know, he is a good running back, but he's fumbled twice, lost one of them, and he just hasn't been the same since then. Carrying the ball 7 times for 11 yards, right? 3 times for 5 yards. He's been terrible since week 1, and now he's kind of in the doghouse. Tomlin brought McFarland in the last game they had, week 3, and he was better, right? 7 carries, 42 yards. That's a very small sample, but still, he looked shifty enough. They drafted him for a reason, right? Obviously, they drafted him for a reason. He's going to be the clear backup to James Conner, but we know there's value there because James Conner, not always healthy. And we know that Mike Tomlin isn't a committee guy. He's not going to throw 3 running backs out there and have them share carries. If Conner's healthy, Conner's the guy. If Conner's not healthy, McFarland could be the guy. He could be getting 20 carries a game before we know it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's the kind of stash insurance policy that you want if you have room on your bench. All right, so that does it for running backs. We'll talk about all the other positions on this channel. If you have any questions, like I said, hit us up, comments here or on Twitter. Thanks for watching.